This is a guitar that I put together for a client, and it was in a box of bits. Some of you probably remember it. It went back to the client, and I asked him to bring it back in a month's time, and it's now back again, and it's all working well, except for we need to adjust the string heights. Now, one of the things that I did do is I put a hefty nut at the end, and I left it too high deliberately because I wanted it to settle first. Let me show you what I use what I prefer is I've got a little pick, and I like, can you see the shadow underneath that pick? I like the strings to be touching the top of that pick. Can you see it? That gives me the right sort of, so I'm going to, right sort of height for the strings. So I'm going to bring the nut down, shave it a bit. It's buzzing a tiny bit, and that's because I haven't finished off the nut the way I want it to be finished off yet. I've already put a slight shim underneath the neck to bring this up a bit because it was too low. What I used is a little piece of aluminum, and I cut 2 little squares out of it. It's very, very fine, and that gives me the shim, and it's sitting in there. Okay, and then I have to adjust the intonators and the intonation and reset the height of the pickups because I think they're going to be too high for this. So how to video this is going to be a little bit interesting. Oh, by the way, what I've already done off camera is I've checked the neck, and the neck is now almost too straight. Ooh, well, let me just see. Hold on, things have changed. Now the neck has got a bow on it, too much of a bow. And that's the first thing I'm going to have to look at, play with that. So I'll change the angle of the camera and play with it. Don't like that. But anyway, okay, I'll change the camera angle, put it on the stand, and let you see what I'm doing, okay? Okay, well, I now have the neck where I want it, but I was surprised that it went out. But it's now tightened up and it's perfectly straight, which is not quite what I like, but we'll adjust that as we go along. And as you see, I did loosen the strings. I just didn't swing on it. The owner bought some new string adjusters. Unfortunately, he's got the type with the sharp edges, and I don't like them, but I put them on. So I'm going to advise them to get the string trees, you know, with the rollers. They're much better if you get ones with the have little rollers on them. So I'll advise them to get those because those cut the edge is just like back and forth. You're tuning all the time, so I don't like them. But maybe the owner prefers them, but they're all quite cheap. Right, so we've got the strings now, the neck the way I want it. And do you want to, let's just switch on the amp and just play it. As you can see, I'm not going to touch the E string because it's just exactly, can you see that? It's just, I could bring it down a bit more, but when you play with a nut, you play with danger because you get it wrong and then you have to start filling it in and stuff like that there. So that looks to be about right. I'll check that. Let me just check the next one. I have feeler gauges that I could use on, but it's just very handy. That's also quite good. So let me just look. I just like this pick. That's slightly high, but only slightly. Yeah, the bass strings are all a bit high. The higher strings seem to be all a bit okay. Now, do I want to bore you by starting to file this down and stuff like that there? Do I want to do that? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll raise the intonator's action a little bit to get the buzz out, and then I won't bore you with the whole thing about filing that down. I'll just come back to you on it. But as you can see, the intonators are quite down, and we had a buzz. Let me just see. Yeah, the buzz there. If you hit it hard. If you're like Jim Little and you bash your guitar, Jim, are you listening? You'll get the buzz. What have we got at 12 string? What have I got? A pair of eyes that can't see. So let me just get down on my knees here and learn the things I do for love. Right, on the 12 string we've got 1.25, which is very low. On that side we've got slightly higher, 1.5. Oh no, we've got 1.5 on both sides. That's what the issue is. I didn't see that. Could just thicker string. 1.25. You like millimeters? You've got 50 to 60 on that side, and you've got 50 to 60 on that side. Right, and at the top, oh, you can't. It's too small. Oh, here we are. I'll use tweezers. Forgive me. These strings are down low enough. It's just the bass ones that this bass needs to come down a bit. But what I like to do is at the very end of this, open it up a bit this way and that way, so that the intonation on the guitar is about there. So the string stops touching the nut about there, and the rest is open. So I bring the internal edge of that internal edge down further than the string, just to stop any vibrations up there, because that can happen. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that off camera, okay? And just bring, where's my favorite pick? Yeah, bring that. You see, even with the intonators being adjusted now, that's come down to nice angles. Let me just check. Let me just bring that up again. Yeah, you see that? The intonations has just brought them up, so they may not be touched. Maybe that one could come down a bit. But I'm going to finely polish this now and adjust them and widen them, and actually may not. Let's get it in tune. Let's get it in tune. By the way, while I'm looking for the battery, have a look at that. Right? You see that? Vitamin D, 4,000 IU. And I'll talk to you about why they're sitting there too. Where's my battery? There's the battery. They say that for COVID, you're supposed to take vitamin D, right? And me being an old crock, I decided to take vitamin D. So I ordered this off the internet, and the maximum you can take is 4,000 IU. I'm sure that's something units. And that's the maximum you should take. But I'm going to have to stop taking them. You're supposed to take one a day. I don't think you should go up to 4,000 if you like to taste your food, because what's happened over the last week is that my mouth has all gone metallic, and I keep thinking I've got little hairs in my mouth, and it's been awful. So I'm going to stop taking them for a little while. I've had both my injections, by the way, because I'm an old crock. I've had both my injections, and I'm going to stop taking the vitamin D. I'm not saying you shouldn't take vitamin D, but I am saying that you shouldn't take the maximum unless you have a vitamin D deficiency, which I don't. So why am I taking vitamin D? Anyway, that's my lecture over. Be careful how you take it because it does affect you. I've lost a taste in my mouth and it's going to take a few days. And they say eat lots of dairy products or grass-fed cow meat when I'm having a, what do you call it, a ribeye steak tonight. Right, okay, let's get this in tune and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I'm not happy with the tuning and I don't like this tuner, so I'm going to have to stop the camera to get the tuner going. Although I have an old iPhone 4, I must try that and see if the iPhone 4 will work and then I can keep doing it. All right, back later. Right. A couple of little tips when this isn't finished by any means. When you're doing this, don't blow, because that's bone. And if you blow, you get the dust everywhere in your lungs and everything. So always use a brush. What I'm trying to do now is I've got a spare string and I'm trying to get the radius so that half of the string's above the nut and half of it's in the slot. So I'm using, let's say for example, the E string, which is just about right. It's sitting right. But the other aspect too is to get the nut so that it's angled like that. So the pivot point, that's what it is. Pivot point, I like it to be about there, just at the edge of that. And this shouldn't be touching the strings at all. Some people like to use a rat tail file. I do too sometimes, just to make the ends bigger so that the string doesn't vibrate against them. Some people call it a bell end shape. So this is the narrow part of the bell and this is the wider part of the bell. Whatever you want to call it, you can call it. But what I think I've got now is about the right shape. I still can have to come down a bit on a couple of these. But here's another little thing you might be interested in. I think StewMac sell these metal clips that hold your strings in, and they sell them for about £14. Just buy a little, you get a half a dozen of these for 50p, and they're zip, what do you call them? What do you call those things? I can't remember the bloody name. To do that there. And you just slip them onto your strings and use them like that. And it actually is better than the StewMac thing because it'll take your strings right underneath and away. And let me just do that. Sorry, I'll just do that. It'll take your strings right underneath and away rather than sitting out to the side. So when you do that, you don't have any, you got your strings down and away. Hopefully you can see all that. This camera hasn't moved. Yeah, you can't. But that's what, 50p for 6 of them, or £3 for 6. I can't remember I bought them that long ago, but it keeps your strings out of the way for when you're filing. So what I'm going to do now is just put a little bit more of, where's my diamond file there? These little things are as cheap as hell, but I don't like them. But they're all I have. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that the pivot point is there, and that's what I'm using the diamond file for, just to make sure. And then I'll put the strings back on. You know, they talk about this being critical and things like that there. And you must have it this way and you must have it this way. You have it the way you like it. That's what I say. If it plays the way you want it, do it. You know, 1/64th here, 1/64th there, bloody, 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 bloody. No, that is going to come down. That's going to come down. That's going to come down. They're all going to come down a little bit more. If you could see what I could see, what you can't see, the string when it goes down into there, into these string trees, which are not very good. It's not touching the nut until it touches there. You could, if you're being a perfectionist, bring it to touch there, but you're giving a very fragile. As long as it's a bell shape, you'll be okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to bring down this one. I'll just use my to move up and down. So touch, holding the third, that should not be touching, that should be touching. And when you move it, it should be very, very slight. If you move it and there's no movement, you're too low. God help you if you are. That's too much. That's too much. So that one there still needs to come down a bit. Right, okay. Why you want to be recording, I don't know, but there you go. I'm going to be using some, let me just see, 1000 grit is enough, and just a tiny bit, 1000 grit sandpaper, just to give me a little bit of a polish there. Right. And I'm not going to go daft, I just want it to look nice. It doesn't particularly need to be shiny. Just want to take the file marks off it. I think nuts are one of the hardest things to do on a guitar. Well, at least for me anyway. To get them right for the guitar. Right. I think that looks pretty good. Now what I need to do is oil that a little bit. Maybe use 1000 grit there, just to take any ancillary file marks away. Although I don't think there are any ancillary file marks. Yeah. Right, okay. Okay, a little bit of oil now. Just lemon oil. Nothing exciting. I'll probably do the whole neck now that I've got it. I like this lemon oil 65 because it's got the little applicator at the top where you just put it on and it comes out. You don't have to spray it and splash it all over the place on a cloth and things like that. So I'm going to just do that. And I'm going to just do all the frets again, do no harm. Okay, and now use the cloth to wipe off the excess. I might have to reset everything again after doing that. Might have to reset the intonation, reset the intonator's height, reset the neck again and everything. But you always check that anyway before you go to the next stage. Well, you should do anyway. So that doesn't that look a little bit nicer? Right, okay. Okay. A lot of dust on the head. Gentleman needs to do something with the head, but he's not sure what to do yet with it. I think it needs a coat of lacquer, at least, the very least. Right, okay. Now let's get this tuned up. I'm going to switch this off now for tuning it up because it's boring. 3 hours. 3 hours on this to get the neck down, get the strings down. And that didn't include at least 2 hours yesterday. You could fiddle till the cows came home to get these things right. But let's just check the tuning first. Broke 3 strings, and I blame the tuners and the string trees for the string breakages. A B, a G, and an E all broke. I haven't had a guitar do that for a while, but it's a nice tune now. But you could literally fiddle and fiddle and fiddle for hours. Sometimes I think there's a buzz in it, and sometimes I got to set too low. But if the owner has an Allen key, he can really fiddle and fiddle and fiddle with it until he gets it just right. But what I have now on the Action is about as low as you're going to get with this neck. Let me just look. Gosh, on the 12th fret, let me just see where's millimeters. There's millimeters. On the 12th fret, I've got 1.5 millimeters and 1.5 on both sides. The little machine that I have says that on the 12th fret you should have 1.5 to 2 millimeters. I don't believe that. You have what you, and everybody goes in 1/64 and 2/32 and all that. And would you believe it? This little thing doesn't have that on it. But everybody on the internet has it. This one has a 1/48 of an inch. I just wanted this thing that tells me. Anyway, it's going back to its owner. I had to fiddle even more with the nut, by the way. I had to bring it down even further because I still wasn't happy with it. But I'm happy enough with it now. All right? Okay, I've got to work on the strings, do the little bendy thing on the strings. Do you want me to show you how to do that? Let me just show you how to do that, because it'll save your fingers if you know how to do it. It'll save you pricking yourself to death if you know how to do that. And it's bloody simple. Where's my, there it is there, right, okay. These things are, ouch, poke your fingers, blah, 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 poke your hands. I just poked my hand on that one. So I'm going to just get a little, these are bluntish ones, just twist it round in like that there. And that stops it from poking your hands and poking your, so just cut it and then grab it. Got the wrong glasses on as usual, and bend it in. 3 pairs of glasses. Bloody hell. Anyway, clip it and then gently, without pressing too much, and bend it in, and you'll see you don't get your fingers ripped to shreds every time you touch it. And I have had my fingers ripped to shreds every time. All right, okay, goodbye. That's it. Going home to this guitar's going home to her daddy, or his daddy. Bye-bye.